All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Athlete and Artist Show. I am the artist Kyle Forch alongside the athlete, professional hockey player Zach Boychuk. Another great guest on the show today. He played over 500 games and had over 700 penalty minutes in the NHL. He's a world championship gold medalist. He's an NCAA national champion and a Stanley Cup champion. Please welcome to the show, Mike Commodore. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I like that intro. You boost my stats a little bit. In reality, I'm a little under 5 and a little under 7, but I like that. Pump that shit up. Perfect. Thank you.
I counted the playoffs.
Okay. Then we're on track. Sure.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you coming. I know you're a busy guy, so we appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, all good. No, thanks for having me. What do you guys want to talk about?
Hey, I mean, well, everyone wants to hear about the Babcock stories, but we'll save that till the end.
Okay, thank you. I'll chat about that a bit, but fuck, I'm trying to distance myself from that fucking guy. I should ask too, should I be watching my language a little bit?
No, you're good.
Or does it matter? Okay,
no,
I just won't go overboard.
Not on Rumble. We're partnered with Rumble, so you can say whatever you want on there.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, we can do whatever. The YouTube might get it taken down, but Rumble lets us do whatever.
Okay, I'll keep it to a minimum anyways.
I mean, yeah, we were just talking about before we started recording. You're out in Arizona right now, and I know you were just out in North Dakota. So what's life been like for you lately? And we'll kind of start there.
Yeah, I've been in and out of Calgary. A little different, I guess. I've been going back and forth a lot. But I guess mostly Arizona, I suppose. So it was a little bit, life was good. I guess a girlfriend and a dog. So I'm not golf. Yeah, so this is big for me. I know it doesn't sound like much, and it probably shouldn't be for somebody that's about to turn 45. But for me, it's a lot. But yeah, so I was out here for a good chunk of the summer. We were touching on that a little bit earlier with weather-wise. So that wasn't my typical summer. It was actually a little bit painful. I mean, I'm not sure what I think is worse, like -30 in Calgary or like +45 here. Like it both sucks. I guess at the end of the day, maybe I'll take the heat because then at least you're not wearing a ton of clothes. But
yeah,
my white skin and red hair and -40 or +45 and no shade doesn't go very well. But yeah, other than that, just hanging out here. Yeah, looking to get into a couple little things here and there, but yeah, not much.
Were you when you were in North Dakota, were you working with UND or what?
Oh no. I've never.
Okay.
I was down there. I was out in North Dakota basically to get shit faced with alumni. If I'm being honest, they do like
Gotcha.
It's actually pretty fun. They try and do like every other year. They try and do what they call a Hall of Fame game, where it's really they should just call it like an alumni game. So usually they travel. So like I've done it. I think they've gone to Tampa. So they just go and they play one game. So they'll play one game somewhere. So I think a few years ago it was Tampa. I think they've done Nashville. And then this year they just went back to Grand Forks, which I think is actually a better thing to do. They're talking about doing it in like Austin, Texas in 2 years. And like, don't get me wrong, those are all great cities and I enjoy going, but you got a lot of old guys. You got a lot of guys that don't get back to Grand Forks very much. You know, you start going around to like the Austin, Texases of the world, and guys are staying all over the place. And, different guys are going to spend different, guys are going to be all over the city. The traffic's a pain in the ass. Getting around can be painful. Whereas like you just do it in Grand Forks. The rink's beautiful. Everybody enjoys going back there because most guys don't live there anymore. So I think we're going to do that. So yeah, honestly, the weather was great. So I played, there was like an alumni game, but I was flying in from here. So it was either they wanted, like when I say like, we're talking like the beer league hockey at its pretty much slowest, very, very low key. So I went and watched it. I had a choice to make. It was either I was bringing my golf clubs because I was there for a couple days, or I was bringing my hockey gear. It wasn't going to be both. So I went with the golf clubs, and that was the right call. We played a couple rounds of golf, which was nice. And then just basically crushed drinks and watched the game. That would be what we did. But it was
awesome.
good. It was fun. It's always good. It's fun to get back. It's, being down here in Arizona a little bit. ASU actually just got into, it's our first year in like the NCHC, the conference that North Dakota's in. So
Right.
yeah, it's good. Like North Dakota, I don't want to talk it up too much. I mean, I obviously had a very good time there, but as far as college hockey goes, I think like North Dakota would be like kind of the college hockey version of like I don't know, of a college football team that travels well. Maybe like an Alabama or a Michigan or something, like wherever they
Yeah.
go. Like when they're here at ASU, like that, you can't get a ticket. Like North Dakota travels well. There's not that many people in North Dakota, and a lot of them have a decent amount of cash. And in beginning of January, they're looking to get the hell out of Grand Forks for a few days. So the arena down here will be packed.
Yeah, they've UND's got a good program, a really good program for
Yeah.
a while now.
Yeah, they always have good players go. I think
Yeah.
they're like, I don't really keep up with this stuff, but I want to say like North Dakota is right up there with like the top like Canadian junior teams as far as like, putting guys in the NHL for a few games or whatever. Like, I don't know what the numbers are, and like I don't think North Dakota is like number one, but I think they'd be up there for sure.
Yeah, I mean they started off like ranked 7th in the NCAA this year, so they're always up there in terms of like performing in the NCAA. But yeah, they've sent some guys for sure. I think who was it? Didn't Taves play there?
Yeah, Taves was
Yeah.
here for a couple of years. Yeah, they actually we won a national title my last year here in 2000, and then they didn't win one again until 2016. And if you were to kind of look at the guys that like there was a little stretch there in kind of the mids, well, kind of your age, Zach, a little bit. There was like Taves and Oshie and Matt Green and Brock Nelson, and like I'm missing guys here for sure. I'd have to take a look, but like there are some guys that went on to have like significant careers. But a lot of times those guys aren't. Well, it's NCAA hockey, so it's like you could have the greatest team in the world, but if you have one off game or you run into a hot goaltender at the wrong time, your season's over. So,
Yeah.
it's like March Madness in basketball. The best team maybe always doesn't win, but yeah, there's definitely been some players go through there for sure.
At least they have like a tournament now. I guess college football is doing more of a tournament style now, so it's not like you have to win every single game to have a shot at national championship. But it's like, yeah, I get what you're saying there for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
once you get in the tournament, there's no more losing.
No.
Yeah. You have you run into a hot goalie from Niagara, your year could be over.
Yeah, I mean, since we're on the NCAA topic, I mean, let's just chat about this right now. I mean, since Zach's a WHL guy, you were an NCAA guy. The new potential, I want to say potential now, because now we're hearing different things about they don't know when it's going to happen, but the NCAA CHL eligibility changes. You played 1 year in the AJHL and then went to the NCAA. Why did you choose the NCAA over major junior?
I purely did that. I was drafted in the last round by the Tacoma Rockets, which then moved to Kelowna. My intention, I had no idea what college hockey was. I couldn't have named a team. Like I didn't even know it existed. My plan was to play major junior if I was good enough. I never had any like professional hockey for me. Like that didn't even cross my mind until I guess I was drafted. And then I'm like, okay, well, somebody thinks I'm decent. But I literally was going to play major junior when I was in grade 12. So that would have been my 17-year-old. I have a November birthday. So 16 turning 17.
Yeah.
I had made the team in Kelowna. And my dad is like, I got nothing against major junior. I love major junior. My dad is scouted for major junior teams, Brandon and Regina, for like, Jesus, it's got to be 30 years now. So we got nothing against the WHL. The only thing was, and this kind of touches on what I think you're going to get into, is like my mom was a principal in Fort Saskatchewan. So she would get like the horror stories from back in the day of like guys going to junior and like not going to school, or if they're in the States and like the credits don't transfer. And so all she wanted me to do is, she was adamant. I mean, my mother did run the household. I think she still does, where I was going to finish high school. So finish high school, then go do whatever the hell you want. So I left. I mean, I was on the team in Kelowna. I left. I didn't want to. I remember I was in tears. Like I wanted to stay. So I went back, played in the AJ in Fort Saskatchewan. And then North Dakota came and they said, hey, do you want to, like my first visit, I went up, long story short, my head coach, Doug Shum, was like, hey, BU's upstairs. They want to talk to you, like after a practice. They want to talk to you. You should get up there right now, Mike. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like BU. What is that? Like, I have no idea what this guy's talking about. So I go upstairs. There's this guy sitting at the table. He's like, hey, Mike, you ever thought about, U.S. college hockey. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah. I'm like, what the hell is this guy talking about? And then he hands me like the little brochure, so I grab it. BU, Boston University. I'm like, okay, now at least I know where the hell he's from. And then, anyways, I went on a fly down. North Dakota was the one and only team that offered me a fly down, and I literally just went on a fly down just because it was my first trip ever out of the house without my parents. That was the only reason why I went.
Oh, wow.
And I went down to North Dakota, and I'd been to like a bunch of different junior games, and like I don't think I'd ever been to Lethbridge to watch, but I'd been to like Swift Currents, and I've been all up and down Saskatchewan. I went and watched a Red Deer game, and so it's not like I hadn't seen games before. Like my dad and I went to games, and they were good. Like, don't get me wrong, but like any other league, like some atmospheres and buildings are better than others depending on where it is and if the team's any good and whatnot. And I went into North Dakota and had no idea what to expect, and I was blown away. Like the rink was packed. There were girls everywhere. Half the people were hammered. Like I was literally sitting there. I'm like, this is unbelievable. So at the end of my trip, I went home and I'm just like, well, I mean, if these guys want me, like at least I can go. If I go to North Dakota, I'm getting a scholarship. It wasn't even a full scholarship. I'm getting a scholarship, and at least I can go to school. I can play hockey for 4 more years, and then I can join the workforce, whatever I decide I want to do. And that's why I went to North Dakota. That was purely it.
And only after 1 year of junior A too, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think they knew, like, if I'm being honest with my skating was shitty at the best of times, but I think they knew, like, I wasn't my first year there. I played in almost all the games, but like they were just coming off they won a national title the year before I got there. And most of the guys were back. And like, so I was like dressing in games, but I wasn't playing much. Like, I wasn't ready for it when I first got there. I was too young. I'd never lifted a weight in my life. Like I'd never been in a weight room. Nobody did it. Like nobody did. It wasn't just me. Like nobody lifted weights, or at least not in Fort Saskatchewan. So like going there and doing like the Ironman tests and watching these guys, like, college hockey should be a little better by and large, just because everybody's older. So like most of the guys at North Dakota were, the average age of the team, we had everybody from 25 years old down to me. I was 17 when I got there. So, the average age was probably 21, 22. These guys are banging out like their body weight and like the bench press, just hammering it out. They're doing pull-ups. And I still remember walking in there. I was horrified. You had to do like your body weight bench press. I was 225 pounds at the time. I'd never done a bench press before. So I'm like standing there and I'm like, holy shit. Everybody's all fired up. I was the heaviest guy on the team, I think. And like, I got that bar, the guy helps me get the bar off the rack. I bring this thing down and I don't think I got it like an inch off my chest. And like, I remember you could hear a pin drop in there. And like the assistant coach I obviously finished, other than running, I could run. Thank God I redeemed myself a little bit running. I can run when I need to, but any kind of like weightlifting stuff, like, or strength thing, like I was dead last. It was embarrassing. And the assistant coach like came up, and I remember Scott Sandlin, he's now been at Duluth forever, like was ripping into me. And I'm like, I go, Scott, I'm like, I've never been in a gym before. Like I've never worked out before. This is my first time. And that calmed him down a little bit. He's like, oh, okay. All right. Well, we got a lot of work to do. I'm like, yeah, we do. So anyways.
You're like, have you ever been to Fort Saskatchewan? Like, I don't even know where the gym is in that town. I don't even
think we had a gym at the high school. Like, there might have. I mean, maybe there was. Actually, I'm certain there wasn't. There might have been a squat rack, maybe somewhere. But anyways, yeah. So I wasn't ready to go there. But at the same time, like, I think they knew, like, if they didn't bring me in that next year, I was going to be in Kelowna for sure. Like, right. There was no doubt about that. And looking back, like, I guess be interesting to go, like, things worked out all right for me going the NCAA route. But if I could do it again and like try the other route just to see, because I think in a lot of ways, although practicing and lifting weights and like the practice time for me at North Dakota with the way I skated and, I had a lot of improving to do. So that was good for me. But I think in a lot of ways too, like the junior hockey with like more games. I also think like, just more of a pro style of playing. Like I was 6'4", and this is back in the day where, fighting was encouraged. I didn't get much of that in the University of North Dakota. So like going there to Kelowna and getting involved in that, that might have helped. Well, that's not might have. It would have helped me out as I gotten older. And, the team in Kelowna would have been like, Jesus, it was like Scott Parker, Dale Purington, Todd Fedoric and I grew up playing together. Like those are three NHL like heavyweights. And apparently that Kelowna rink back in the day was like a shoebox. So I feel like going to Kelowna would have been an interesting experience as well. But, I chose the college hockey route. But I got off topic there too with the rules you were talking about, right?
Yeah, no, I mean we can get to that too. I just wanted to hear why you decided to go to the NCAA first, and like because we had talked about it. Yeah, we had talked about it last week, and Zach, you were even saying like you would have done your like 2 years in the dub and then gone if you had the opportunity, right?
Yeah, I think that would help like a smaller guy like me. I just kind of knew I wasn't ready for the NHL at 18, 19, and it would have been nice to go see like University of North Dakota or go see a couple other schools and play in front of those big barns and get a little bit of party life, see everything that comes with that. Join the alumni. It seems like all those guys are just so tight and meet up with each other. Like you're meeting up with these guys on trips and stuff. So, but it also worked out for me too, going major junior and was a high pick at 18. So, but for you, did you get drafted a little bit late? Were you a couple of years? Were you like 20 when you got drafted? Or
No.
were
So my
you
draft year
normal
was
age?
normal, but I think because of my birthday, I was a little bit. So I was drafted after my second year. So I turned 18. So I was drafted when I was 19. So I turned 19
Second
in
round
November.
pick.
Yeah. So, and that wasn't expected at all. Like either. I mean, I wasn't even on the. I had a pretty good year my second year. Like for me, I had a good year. Like things kind of slowed down in my head and started playing more and whatnot. So. Yeah, I mean, it kind of worked out, but yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like after I turned pro, you go and you go to these camps, and I started in New Jersey, and so you got junior guys and college guys, and this was back when teams could, New Jersey Devils had us there August 1st. If you wanted any chance of making the team, you were going to be in West Orange, New Jersey on August 1st, and yeah, it's kind of funny. Like,
the GM
yeah, Lou Lamoriello was the GM. And
cutting your hair and no beard and everything.
Yeah, cutting hair, high and tight. Yeah, he had a big say in what kind of vehicle you got. Yeah, he had his fingers and everything. But yeah, you talk to these junior guys, and when I was young, you think like, oh yeah, the junior guys are going off and partying and whatnot, and the college guys are going to school and like, going to bed early or whatever. And I'm like, we'd laugh about it because I'm like, I think it's basically the exact opposite. Like, I think
we
it's
had
a little
like
bit
11
backwards.
o'clock curfew every day. We weren't allowed to go in any of the bars in Lethbridge. So
yeah, see, that's crazy. Nah, some of that's an age thing too, but yeah, college, like, we never had a curfew. I mean, we were good when I was there too. So when we took care of ourselves, but like, don't get me wrong, we were going out, and I was underage the entire time I was there. I mean, I got so many misdemeanors for like drinking, just minor things, right? But I mean, like I said, I left when I was 20, so I wasn't of age until I got to New Jersey and Albany. So it was an interesting experience.
That's gonna be like there's a Nashville just got an NCAA D1 hockey program, so like it's gonna be nuts. The boys going out there.
What's the name of that school? I didn't know that.
Tennessee State University.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so smaller school, but hopefully as they start to see success, they'll these bigger schools around there like Vandy and UT in Knoxville will buck up and get some hockey programs. But yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see some of those southern ones, like, because I see more. Maybe it's just a social media thing, but it seems like I see a little more and more like club teams at like the University of Alabama and places like that. And like if they can create some interest, yeah, that'll be. It's going to make. I mean, obviously, there's something great to go to a Boston University or a Michigan, or a North Dakota or Minnesota, whatever. There's a lot of history and stuff like that. But man, you're 17, 18 years old, and I don't know. You got the University of North Dakota, or you got ASU coming. I mean, I mean, there's positives to both. Same thing, like we're talking weather-wise, Calgary and Arizona. You want to sit in -40, or you want to be wearing shorts in the winter? And shorts sounds kind of good too. So
yeah,
it'd be interesting.
Yeah, TSU's like 5 minutes away from Broadway too, so it could be a
Oh,
little
Jesus.
dangerous for the boys down there.
Oof, they
But
might need a curfew.
yeah. But yeah, so with these eligibility changes that are all but pretty much confirmed, we just don't know when. What are your thoughts on it? Like, do you think it's really gonna heighten NCAA hockey, allowing these major junior guys to come out, or do you think a lot of the major junior guys will go to the NCAA or stay in junior? Like we said, Zach said he would have stayed his 2 years and then gone. I know there's some guys that I was talking to the head of recruitment at MRU, and he's like, maybe some of these NCAA programs won't want like a 21-year-old guy who's been already, in the major junior culture for that long. And what are your thoughts on how this changes?
I think it's really interesting. We were talking about this a little bit at North Dakota last weekend or whenever I was there. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. Like, I think it's great. I think guys should have opportunities. Like, like I said, I respect and love the WHL and the Canadian Hockey League, but like, and I think they still, maybe they don't anymore, but they were doing it for a long time. Like, I also think it's like, let's say just to use the Lethbridge Hurricanes, for instance, you guys go out on a West Coast trip and you have a draft pick that's in Vancouver. He's 15 or 16 years old. Well, it's like, hey, we really need you tonight. Do you want to dress? And the kid's like, oh, I'm dressing for the Lethbridge Hurricanes. He plays in a game, he plays a couple shifts, and now his eligibility is screwed. Like, I think that's bullshit.
Yeah.
I also think, like I said, I don't have any kids and I've been out of this for a while, but I also think it would be a little bit sad if if it ends up cutting out your tier 2 junior player who sits and plays in Fort Mac until he's 19 or 20 years old. And once he's 20, he gets an opportunity to go play college hockey. Like, I think if some of those major junior guys are coming, those spots I think are done. So yeah, like I don't know what you do as far as putting limitations on it. I am all for guys getting opportunities. I think, hey, let's say I go to play for the Lethbridge Hurricanes or whatever, and however it works out, like, let's say, hey, maybe things just aren't really like, maybe I changed my mind, maybe I think I would like to go to school, even something simple as that, like, or maybe things aren't really working out for me there hockey wise or whatever. And so I think it's great guys get opportunities. I don't know if I would love to see like a guy go play in major junior for 4 years and then go play another 4 years in NCAA. I think if that's happening, then I think that's cutting out your tier 2 guy that's grinded it out for the Fort Mac Oil Barons. That might take a spot away from him. So I don't know if you put I don't know if you do anything, to be honest, but I don't know, maybe you put like a number of games, like, if you play X amount of games in the WHL, maybe you got less eligibility. I don't know, but I think overall, I think it's a good thing because I mean, the NCAA, they got some of the dumbest fucking rules ever, and like that one there, like we're not letting a guy come from Lethbridge because he's considered a professional hockey player because he was getting paid. Like, what was that, per diem? I mean, maybe the top end guys were getting a little bit, but I'm assuming they weren't firing fucking $30,000 a month or anything like that. Like, you get a little bit of meal money. That was my understanding, and that's stupid.
Zach, were you getting paid 30 grand?
Yeah, were you getting paid? No, I was going to say I was getting 100 grand a year, and it makes me look like
an
an idiot.
I got $82 every 2 weeks, and that
there we go.
Covered my gas. So
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call that a professional paid athlete. I mean. So, but like I said, I think overall, I think it's a good thing. It'll probably be like most other things. When you change some rules, they might have to work some kinks out. But like I said, my major thing is I do think there's something to be said for those guys that, you play in the Alberta Junior Hockey League until you're 20 and, you love playing and you're hoping to maybe get a scholarship, but you don't get one for a while. Then when you're 20 years old, the team comes, hey, you know what? We could use a 20-year-old and older defenseman, like come to Quinnipiac or whatever. I hope that doesn't get completely eliminated because I think that would kind of be shitty.
Yeah, I've scouted Junior A for 6-7 years now. So we always had to compete with the dub, especially with the younger kids, because as soon as they sign that agreement, their eligibility is out the door. So
yeah.
it was like one, the dub, we always hated the dub because they were trying to commit these kids at 14, 15 just so they
Right.
didn't go to the NCAA. And then
Yeah.
the NCAA is committing kids at 15, and then which is way too young to be like making a decision on where you want to go to school. Like you barely sniffed high school yet, and you're like, oh, this is where I'm going to go to university. Like,
Yeah. Like
it's just,
that shit has to stop.
yeah.
Like,
So I think
everything is too young these days. Like that's crazy. But to have a kid make a decision at 14, 15, and if he, like you said, if he signs something, now his eligibility's done. Like that's ridiculous. Now it's completely on the parents. And I'm going to guess that the majority of the parents don't have any clue what they're doing because they probably didn't go through it and hadn't been through it before and didn't play themselves. So they got no idea either. Like that shit needs to stop where like you make a decision or you kind of make a bit of a decision when you're 14, 15. I mean, you don't even know if you're going to be any good. I mean, other than, what's his name? Landon DuPont, Mickey's kid. Okay, fine. We got our exceptions, but other than that, it's a crapshoot. That shit has to stop. They got to get rid of that, however they do it.
Yeah, there was always like and I get why, but kids always looked at the dub. They're like, that's the end all be all. We want to get to the dub. We want to get to the dub. We want to get to the dub. And I'm like, okay, but do you want to play, maybe a couple games in the dub and then get sent down? Then you have to go to Canadian University, or do you want to be stuck at the bottom six of a dub team when you could be playing, top six of a junior A team? It's like, so I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. And now with the AJ and the SJ, they have a partnership with the WHL. So it's like, I think it will turn into like a farming affiliate system now when the NCAA rules change. But now the BCHL is out on their own. So I think it might start to take guys away from the BCHL with that kids that might want to play in the dub, since they'll be able to go to the NCAA still. So they
there's rumors that some USHL teams want to join some Ontario Hockey League teams. So it might all completely change. Maybe some BC teams will want to join the dub. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. It seems like I've tried to keep up. I've read a little bit, and I know that with the Hockey Canada, it seems like it's a shit show. And that USHL, I mean, that's since the USHL that USHL is like a legit league now, from my understanding. I don't know. I think that's a good way to put. I mean, everything's changing for sure.
Yeah, it's a clusterfuck. I mean, there's no way else
That's a good way to put it too. Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like you said, I'm all for opportunity. I think it's great for kids to be getting more opportunities. One thing it is going to destroy, though, when it does change, is Canadian university hockey. Because all of those WHL, OHL guys, they get their scholarships paid through the CHL for Canadian University. But if they can go to the NCAA, even if the dub isn't going to be paying for it, they're going to go to the NCAA. Like they're not going to come to MRU when they could go to UND or ASU.
Right. Yeah. That's a good. I never thought of it like that, and that's sad too, because that's really good hockey. The U of A. I mean, I skated there a few times. Yeah, they might get punished because, you're right. At the end of the day, I got nothing against the University of Alberta or University of Calgary, but if I have an opportunity to go, to the States and check out something, why the hell not?
And there's already NCAA teams calling those programs to try to take their players.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a mess.
We got a shit show going on.
Yeah.
Good point.
Zach, do you have anything else to add on top of that? I know you just said you heard some WHL teams might be joining, or sorry, some BC teams might be joining the WHL. What else have you heard around this?
Yeah, I think Jeff Merrick was posting some tweets about that, but there's so much that's still gonna come out from all this, but I just feel like everybody's too young. You're getting recruited too young for the dub. You're getting recruited too young for college. I think even the NHL, they should move the NHL draft back a little bit, because how many guys are really ready when they're 18, 19, 20? Like, it usually takes 4 or 5 years for like first overall picks to be like Lafreniere. He's kind of just coming into his own now, but like it took Hughes a bunch of years. Like, unless you're McDavid or Bedard, like I would change it to the other sports that you're drafted later, basketball, NFL, it's usually college guys getting drafted, right? Unless it's special exception, 18-year-old LeBron James comes in,
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. Yeah, you always have your exceptions. You're one every it's not even one a year. I mean, maybe if you want to put maybe there's one guy a year, maybe at the absolute fucking most. But
Yeah.
other than that, nobody else is ready. You're just forcing them into it.
Yeah. I mean, while we're on that topic, let's circle back to you, Kami. I mean, you go from UND to the NHL, and then within 4 years, you're playing in the Stanley Cup Final on this big cup run with Carolina. How was it going back to Edmonton in the Stanley Cup Finals as a guy who grew up, in Fort Saskatchewan, played junior there, played midget there, near Edmonton? How was it kind of going back to basically your hometown crowd as an opposition player in the Stanley Cup Final?
I'll tell you what, it was fucking expensive. I'll tell you that. I didn't make any money that playoff run. I'll tell you that. Tickets were not cheap. But no, it was really fun. It was kind of cool for me in that, I mean, first off, going back home, playing against the Oilers, I grew up watching them. Obviously, my dad and I went to a couple of games, not many, but yeah, buddies at home and whatnot. And, the Oilers went on a run as an 8 seed, kind of a little bit like we did in Calgary too. There's a lockout year in between, but how we did it in Calgary a little bit where, we were supposed to lose every series we were in. You end up winning all of them except the last one. So yeah, people were all fired up, and going home was definitely a great experience. I mean, worked out great for my parents as well too, because that was nice because they could go to the games. I mean, my only rule with them was there's some, those people in Edmonton, they take their Oilers hockey pretty serious. When you get to the Stanley Cup Finals, there's some heavy drinking involved. And, the only thing I told my parents is look, you guys obviously can come to all the games. Hopefully there's not many here, but, there ended up being the full 3 in Edmonton. And I'm like, look, you better not be wearing anything Carolina or anything even remotely close to the color red. I don't give a shit if you're in there wearing an Oilers jersey. I could care less. I just don't need to be playing this game wondering where you are in the building and some drunk asshole says something or does something stupid. So it all worked out great. I think the only thing I ended up hearing was, and a couple of, like I said, it was expensive. So my high school buddies and stuff wanted to come. So, there's a certain amount of tickets that were available for the Hurricanes. So I would obviously just I get 2 for my parents and then, whatever anybody else wanted, but there was always extra tickets available. And I just bought up the rest and I give them to my buddies, which actually ended up being a pretty good move. Cause a couple of my buddies are from home are not to be messed with, and they're kind of cheering for the Oilers, but not really. And you end up all of them were in the same section. So like my buddies saved a couple, like Cam Ward's parents, got into it a little bit. When I say got into it, somebody was getting it into it because they recognized Cam's dad and mom, and guys are having beers. And anyway, so I had some buddies to step in there. So it ended up working out pretty good. But yeah, it was a good time for sure. It was a good time.
Sports fans and casino lovers, it's your time. Get ready for a whole new way to experience DualBits with the launch of DualBits TV Stream, now live on DualBits official X, formerly Twitter, and other channels. DualBits TV guarantees daily streams hosted by your favorite streamers, covering a variety of time slots to keep the excitement going all day long. Whether you're tuning in for epic DualBits originals, live sports betting action, thrilling spins on slots, or massive giveaways, we've got something for everyone. As part of the TV stream launch, DualBits is giving away a staggering $50,000 every month live during the streams. Start with DualBits' sports welcome offer and claim up to $100 in free bets. Plus, this weekend's UFC 308 features Topuria versus Holloway for the featherweight title and the equally exciting Whitaker versus Chimaev. Bet with confidence in our UFC fantasy jackpot for a chance to win 1 Bitcoin and $8,000 guaranteed for the top 50 leaderboard spots. In case you've forgotten, you're able to win all these prizes with a totally free-to-play entry. DualBits is really the home of MMA sports betting. Don't miss on mega boosts on the main fights and bet and get offer on the Topuria versus Holloway fight. Want custom bets? Use our request a bet feature via DualBits' Discord or Telegram channel. Follow at DualBits Threads on Instagram for exclusive merch and visit dualbits.shop to explore the collection. I didn't mean to skip over Calgary there. I try to block that finals out of my mind because we won.
Okay.
But I was a diehard Flames fan growing up, and that
was a tough finish.
Yeah, so we won. There's no question about it. That's a Flames Stanley Cup victory. But to get your opinion on it as a player, as a guy who was there on the ice, like what What was the reaction from you guys? How did you guys deal with that weird situation in Game 6 where, it was called no goal, and then it came out after that it really was a goal, and then Game 7,
Yeah.
obviously,
I'm not the best guy to ask because, I didn't play. I was just happy to be there. I was in the minors the first half of the year, got up and I was playing, but I was scratched the first 3 games against Vancouver. And then Tony Lidman came back. So I was scratched the last 3 games against Tampa. So games
okay.
5, 6, and 7, I was in the stand. So I'm not the best guy to ask because I wasn't on the bench and I wasn't in the room. But in talking to the guy, I mean, I was just like you, Game 6. Like I was sitting up there in the press box with Brennan Evans, and I'm like, before I'm like, I'm thinking we're winning this game. Like Brennan and I are sitting there, and I'm like, dude, this is going to be fucking on tonight. Like this is going to be great. And then, I was just like any other fan watching, and I was like, did that kind of look like? And I've heard stories since, like of John Davidson he was doing the game for whatever network. I don't know how the hell this worked, but this network had a camera, like a goal line camera, but that camera feed wasn't available to the NHL. And apparently I've heard this from a couple of people. John Davidson was doing the game and saw it, thought it was in. So during the breaks, he was like running around trying to get somebody's attention up there, being like, hey, I think that puck might have been in, but there was nothing you can do. I had on my podcast, we had Marty Gellin on, and just because, asking him, what was going through your mind. And I don't want to speak for Marty, but basically he was like, look, he goes, it all happened so fast. I thought it was in, but he's like, the puck went out and it's going the other way. So I just kept playing. And he's like, look, he goes, if I could go through it again, I should have fired my stick in the air. And I'm like, yeah, you should have fired your gloves. I mean, there was still, don't get me wrong, they still could have tied the game. There was still like 3 minutes left or whatever, but that team was pretty good at locking it down. But yeah, and then after, I don't remember, like I said, I'm not the greatest guy to ask. I do know, like, once the game, Marty St. Louis scores in overtime and we're going back to Tampa. Like, I don't remember, like, it's not like we got on the plane and that was like a big topic. Like I would remember that if guys, like, I don't remember anybody bitching. I don't remember anybody saying anything. I really don't remember any of it coming up ever again until later. Like nobody really, at the end of the day, we lost the game. But it does. Yeah. I mean, looking back, I've had Marty St. Louis, him and I are buddies now. And I've had him on the podcast, and I got him to admit, the podcast didn't end up recording, so I can't prove this, but he said, I will say it was pretty close. I'm like, yeah, it was, Marty. It was very close. But anyways, yeah, tough one. Might have been a good thing for me, though, because I think if we win that thing in Game 6, I'm not sure if I make it through the summer. That might have been the end of my career right then and there. So maybe it was a good thing for me.
Did you venture out to the Red Mile at all? I know I was there at 15 years old thinking like you couldn't even move on 17th Ave.
Yeah, when I was playing, I didn't play for the Flames for very long, but I was in the International Hotel the entire time. I never got a place there. So I was seeing what was going on, obviously, like everybody else, but I never ended up making it out. The one time I was going to, so it was like me and the Black Aces were in the International Hotel, and we beat San Jose in Game 6 in Calgary. So now we're going to the finals. So we get back to the hotel. I tell the guy, I go, hey, I'm seeing all this shit happen on TV. And, they had like, the internet was kind of not nearly as big now, the flamesgirls.com. And, we're looking at this stuff on the computer in the locker room. Like, man, this looks unbelievable. So we got back to the hotel. I go, quick change, fellas. I'm like, we're going to the Red Mile tonight. Let's go. Let's get out of here in like 10. So I go take my suit off or whatever, put whatever on. And I go down to the hotel lobby. I'm pounding a drink there. Like, I'm ready to go. And a couple of cops walked into the bar. And so they come over and say, hey, Mike, congratulations. Like, that was awesome. I'm like, hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. They're like, where are you going tonight? I'm like, wow, we're going to the Red Mile. And they like both look at each other, and keep in mind, I had the long hair and I look like a fucking clown. It's not like you wouldn't be able to pick me out. And they looked at each other. They're like, hey, Mike, like, seriously, could you do us a favor? I'm like, yeah, of course. Yeah, I support the police. What do you guys need? They're like, look, like, can you just go anywhere else? And they're like, you look like a clown. It's going to rile people up. I'm not saying it's going to be a bad thing, but it's crazy enough down there as it is, and we just like to keep it that way. I sat there and I was like, fuck. I'm like, all right. So I ended up going to Cowboys. That's where I went, which was just fine too. But yeah, I never ended up seeing it in person, unfortunately.
Cowboys just as rowdy in the playoffs.
Oh, Cowboys was unreal too. Yeah, I'm definitely not complaining. I had a very good night.
I remember leaving Cowboys. It was when Calgary eliminated Vancouver years ago now. But they eliminated Vancouver, and I remember going from Cowboys to the Red Mile, and there were people lighting off fireworks in the middle of 17th Ave. I was like, and cops are just standing there just watching. I was like, you see that?
That's fine.
We're allowed to do that? Like, what is going on?
I will say the one thing that's good about Calgary, which you can't say the same about some other Canadian cities, and you're going to get your odd, when things get riled up, and our run to the finals, and when they've won a couple playoff rounds and stuff. I will say, like, everybody gets, I'm sure there's like the odd fist fight, like whatever. You get a bunch of but whatever. That is what it is. But I will say overall, I would say Calgarians are pretty well behaved. I'll give them that. You get after it. Maybe there's the odd incident, but nothing like they're not burning shit down, unless I missed that, but I don't think I did.
Yeah. I haven't seen them burn anything down yet.
Yeah, that's good. Who knows? Yeah. The city is changing though, so
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah. Chucky, what else you got here? I feel like I've been doing too much of the talking.
No, I just wanted to ask Kami. I mean, we worked out a little bit together with crash conditioning back in the day. What made you come back to Calgary and kind of spend some of your summers there?
Yeah, I always loved Calgary. I think it's a great place. Like I think Calgary's awesome in the summers. It was like fairly close to home. Like my parents and stuff weren't living there, but if I wanted to go see them, I could just buzz up the road to Edmonton and see them. I would say, another thing, like I got treated really well there from the 2004 run. Like, I still laugh to this day. Like I'll go out or whatever, just go for dinner. Like to this day, I'll go for dinner and I'll have somebody come up and be like, "Hey man, you were unreal as a Calgary Flame." And I'm like, usually I just say, "Hey, thanks. Appreciate that. Thank you." But every once in a while I'll be like, "Yeah, it was the greatest 18 games of my life." And they're like, 18 games? What are you talking about? I'm like, "Well, I played 18 games in the regular season and then I played 20 in the playoffs." And they're like, "That's it? I thought you were here for like 5 or 6 years." And I'm like, "I wasn't anywhere for 5 or 6 years, but thank you. I appreciate it." So it's a fun city for me as well. But yeah, when we were working out, it was towards my tail end. And yeah, that was a lesson. By this, I can't use never been in the gym as an excuse anymore. But I do remember coming in, because that time I had been working out. But that was kind of the transition time, I think, a little bit. Like, what always amazed me about you guys was, like, obviously you guys were very, very fit, but like the amount of weight and reps you guys could with like the Olympic lifting, that was something that I never really did. Like it wasn't a thing until I was probably too late to start, if I'm being honest. So yeah, going into the gym and seeing Zach and those guys work out, I was always like, and I'm a pretty decent sized dude. And I remember watching you guys being like, fuck, there's no way I could get that off the floor. And like, if I tried to just do what he just did, like, as you guys were doing cleans and some of like that hamstring stuff you guys were doing, I think I played my entire career with no fucking hamstrings. Like I never did like a hamstring strengthening thing. Like you do those, what's that thing where you lay down, your feet are in it, and then you kind of lift your body up, kind of the reverse like this.
Oh yeah.
Like you guys were doing that with like weight. Yeah. And I know that's a fairly simple exercise for you guys, but I remember getting on there and I'm like, holy fuck, like I don't think I have any hamstring strength. So that's what I blame my shitty skating on now. I just say, fuck, I didn't know.
Yeah, Chucky's shredded. Like,
yeah, he's in very good shape. Yes, I'm sure things haven't changed. How's Berlin? That's where you are, right? You've been there. I just looked. I knew you were there for a few years. Fuck, you guys win every year.
Yeah. 3 out of the last 4. So this is my 5th year. We got a good team again this year. So I don't know. I'm 35. Guys are getting younger and younger. Like keeping up with guys in the gym now, it's like, and things have changed a lot too. Like we're not lifting as heavy like we used to back in the day. It's all jumping and speed but just trying to keep the career going a little bit, I guess. But Berlin's awesome.
How do you feel on the ice? I heard Berlin's awesome. I've never been, but I heard that league's awesome. I heard Berlin's great. How do you feel on the ice? Like I mean, you were always an excellent skater, but keeping up that way, do you notice much, maybe a little or no?
I definitely get a little more tired after the games, but during the games, it's pretty
Fine.
good. I
Okay, that's good.
definitely need a few more recovery sessions and ice baths. And back in the day, it was just a little coffee warm up to get it going. But now I'm on the table a lot more. But no,
Well, that's all right.
I think I got a couple more years left in me.
Okay. Well, coming from an old fuck, let me tell you, play as long as you're still enjoying it, play as long as you can, because when you decide to stop, it's fucking over. So
Yeah.
make
How
sure
old
when
were
you're,
you when you stopped?
I was done when I was 34.
34 in
34, yeah.
Russia.
And in Russia, yeah. But like, yeah. I mean, I wanted to play one more year. Because I thought 15 years pro sounded cooler than 14. So and I thought for my game, Olympic ice hockey isn't really up my fucking alley, but play inside the dots. And, in that league, I got an awful lot of respect as far as like, nobody really touched me. So I thought I had a pretty decent year. I thought we made the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, I want to do one more year. So I came back, I was working up. Well, I was in the same gym as you. I wouldn't say I was working out with you, but I was in the same gym. And I wanted to go back for 1 year. I had something set up. I had a ton of interest and they said they were going to bring me in. So this was 2014, right after the Sochi Olympics. So I came back to Calgary. I was working out and going. And at the end of the season, at the end of our season, we lost in the first round. Donbass in the Ukraine wanted to, and I played a game there and I enjoyed it. The rink, I thought the rink was really cool. I thought the city looked fucking nice from what I saw, and guys were getting paid. Like Randy Robitaille was there and a couple other like North American guys. So I talked to them after the game and be like, "You guys getting paid?" They're like, "Yeah," and they were getting paid like pretty good. Like this would have been like definitely a decent amount of cash for me. And so I was all set. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do that. Like, and then I want to say it was like, I mean, I guess I could Google it on when it exactly was, but it was like a couple months later. I'm like on my iPad and I clicked the USA Today app to like read the news or whatever. And fucking first headline was like pro-Russian rebels burn Donbass arena to the ground. That was when Putin moved into that Crimea or whatever. And I mean, the war is still going on now, but so yeah, obviously that was the end of that team. And I kind of took that as a little bit of a sign. I'm like, you know what? Maybe 14 years is going to have to just do it. And I just grabbed my golf clubs and that was it.
So Putin ended your career,
Putin,
basically.
yeah. Putin owes me money. Like, if I ever meet that guy, I'm going to tell him he owes me some cash.
Did you ever find out who jumped you at that Russian dinner?
No,
No?
I never found out. No, never saw those guys again. I know they tried to. So there was a guy that was playing on the team. Well, he was in the restaurant with me. He played a little bit for the Ottawa Senators. Spoke perfect English. Ilya Zubov, good player. Him and I kept in touch for a couple years after I was done. I think he went back there and played the next year. He played for a few more years, and he would message me, just to like WhatsApp, kind of keeping in touch. And I know for a couple of years, like those two guys were trying to press charges on me still. And I'm like, literally laugh. I'm like, good fucking luck. Like, you're never going to see me in Russia again. So that ain't happening. But yeah, I never found out why that happened. I never found out who it was. I never found out any of that shit. So, I mean, in a way, I would like to. I think it would be fun for me to maybe go back, and I still have a little bit of, like, when I say a little bit, I mean, I don't know what the exchange rate is now. I'm assuming it's not great, but I think I still have like a million or a little bit like rubles or whatever. I think it like basically works out to like 20 grand or 25 grand Canadian or something there in an account. Like when I closed my account and wired the money out, you had to keep a million rubles in it for some reason. I don't know. I mean, every once in a while, I'll email the banker there, Ivanka or something, and she gets back to me actually. Like she actually responds. So like it's legit, but I still have a little bit of money there. So every once in a while I think I'm like, man, it would be kind of fun to like get on a plane, go to Vladivostok, and just blow the doors off for a weekend, like spend 1,000,000 rubles or whatever it is, and then come home. But I'm like, I still kind of in the back of my head, I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I don't need to. If on some off, I know the chances are slim, but like the last fucking thing I need is to show up at the Vladivostok airport and my name pings for some reason, and then I'm not allowed to leave. So I'm just going to leave that stuff there. If anybody's there, let me know. They can have a weekend on me.
Putin shows up. He's like, what'd you say on that podcast about me owing you money?
Yeah, now I definitely can't go. I said, Putin owes me money now, and he ended my career. But it's amazing, like being over there, just touching on like Putin and like probably one of the, like long story short, I ended up over there because of Slava Fetisov. He was my D coach in New Jersey, my first year, 2 years pro. And when I was with the Devils, and if there's one person, I was one hockey guy, maybe one person, period. But if there was one hockey guy for sure that I would like love to see, like love to know, like just get into their bank account or bank accounts and get like, and find out how much they are worth. Number one on my list by a mile is Slava Fetisov, because that guy is Putin's boy. That guy is a Russian legend. Like he's been like minister of sport. He's been in politics. I don't know what the hell his title is now, but he is tied in with the government. Like when I went over there, Vladivostok, the team I played for was an expansion team. He got me the contract. Like I called him, and next day I had a contract, where before that I was struggling to get any interest. And like he would walk into the room every once. He came to a few of our games. Like he'd walk into the room and, he's got his glasses, kind of tinted glasses on. He's done up to the nines. He walks into the room and like you could hear it. It was like Jesus Christ walked into the room. Like everybody stops talking. And to me, like, Slava's a great dude, but to me, it's Slava, the guy that used to bag skate me in New Jersey. Like he'd yell at me. I'd work my ass off for him and he loved me and we'd holler at each other, like in a good way. So I'd be like, Slava, yell at him. And like the Russians were like looking at me like, what is this guy doing? Like yelling at Slava. But I would love to know what that guy is worth. Because I think the first letter, I don't know what the number is going to be, but I think it's a B. And I bet it's more than one. This is just me guessing. I don't know. But I think he is swimming in it, would be my guess.
Yeah, if he's that high up and he's done that much in sports, like Russia loves their athletes that.
Oh, he's high up.
They take
like
very good care of
he
those
is
guys.
high up. Putin loves hockey too. Like you see the odd clip online, like where he gets all the guys together and they play. Yeah. And obviously they all leave him alone. And there's that clip where he skates and trips over the carpet or whatever. I don't know if you guys ever seen that. Yeah. But like they fill the arena, right? Like people come in and every time he touches the puck, people are going bananas. You can obviously tell they're letting him score. Like, it's almost like if you have a kid come out playing with 20-year-olds and the kid's 5, like you obviously let the kid like go around and here, yeah, go. But he loves hockey. I will say he's great for that Russian league. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's unreal.
Yeah, there's some funny clips online if you're ever bored.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I've seen a bunch of them always pop up every now and again. It's everyone just chirping in the comments about, just like you said, everyone just letting them score. They're like, yeah, no one's stopping that puck.
Nobody's stopping that puck. Nobody is taking the puck from him.
No,
like there's no
contact.
No.
Just
let
him skate by you.
If you took like even a mediocre run at Putin, like I would think you are not going to be leaving the arena.
No.
Well, you won't be leaving walking on your 2 feet. That's for sure.
You might not even make it off the ice.
No, that's
100%.
You might not make it back to the bench. They'll be carrying you off, and you'll be 6 feet under in a hurry.
Did you ever see the clip of Trudeau going up to Putin and like touching him, and right even before he like within a millisecond, Putin's boy is coming up behind him, and Putin's just like.
Yeah. I haven't seen that, but I should.
Holy shit.
That's crazy. Justin Trudeau doesn't garner a whole lot of respect on the world stage. That's crazy.
Not to get political on the show, right?
No, I don't want to do that. Let's not get canceled. But I can't believe Justin Trudeau doesn't get any respect on the world stage. That's crazy to me.
So Putin owes you money, and Babcock set you up in Russia at that dinner. That's what we're rolling with.
Yeah, I'll go with that. That's a good. I can go with that. Yeah, Babcock tried to get me offed. Tried to get me in trouble in Vladivostok.
Chucky, do you have anything else while we round down here?
No, my headphones died, so it's all you guys running the show now.
Well, one thing that I mean, since we just mentioned Babcock, we won't talk about him too long. But and since you said you wanted to distance yourself from him, but Chucky kind of brought up before we got on here, everything that you kind of said throughout the years has kind of come to fruition. What are your thoughts on that and everything that's kind of gone down with him in the last few years? Because I know he was coaching at University of Saskatchewan for a year. Guys hated him. Came to the NHL. Biz got him sent right back out. Like, what's
Yeah.
what are
You
your
know,
thoughts?
at the end of, I'll just speak in like my experiences with him is I had two with him for whatever reason in Anaheim and then in Detroit.
Right.
In Anaheim, he wanted not, I got traded there after my second year. I was kind of supposed to play. He didn't want anything to do with me. Like, he hated me from the word go. And that's totally fine. That happens all the time. Like, whatever. Was I pissed off at the time? 100%. Did I love the fact that when he sent me down immediately, he went to the paper when they asked him, like, hey, you guys traded for Mike. Like, where is he? I really didn't love the fact that he went to the paper and told them that I showed up out of shape and that I didn't care. One, if I ever showed up out of shape to a training camp, like, I wasn't a good enough player to show up out of shape. Like, I would have loved to have done that if I was like a Ryan Getzlaf of the world or whatever, but I wasn't a good enough player. I knew that. I needed to show up like to the best of my abilities. And the fact that I didn't care. I mean, I was fighting everybody in camp. Like, I'm not sure what he wanted me to do. But regardless, and there's more that happened that year that was fucking bullshit. But just to leave that whole experience away, and then going back, like, that was my bad. My big, I should never have went back to Detroit. I got bought out in Columbus. I love Ken Holland. We're buddies to this day, who was the GM there at the time. We do golf trips every year. Ken wanted me. I asked Ken, and this is 5 minutes into free agency after I got bought out as a defensive defenseman in his 30s. Like, nobody's thinking of even mentioning my name for at least another month, if at all. I'm thinking maybe a PTO. Anyways, they offered me a contract, give me 15 minutes. I called Babs. He's promising, like, yeah, you're going to play and whatnot. And it was blatantly fucking obvious from the word go that, I mean, I knew at the end of the day, I should have trusted my gut. I'm like, this guy just wants to end my career. And that's basically what he did. But I will say, like, I ended up being, I guess, kind of the spokesperson. Like, my experiences with Mike Babcock aren't that many. Like, I wasn't around long enough to have a lot of them. But the guys that were, I ended up being, through Twitter, I ended up being kind of the spokesperson for it. So, I knew some stuff. Guys would tell me things, and, these guys didn't want to attach their name to it or wanted jobs in hockey where, and I was well aware when I started tweeting from Sullivan's in Carolina before Detroit came into town, or Detroit came into town the next day for the Canes home opener. I knew, like, look, if I run my mouth on Twitter, there's going to be a lot of people that don't know me that think I'm a fucking idiot, and they are not going to want to hire me in the hockey world. I mean, the hockey world's a small world, and those guys like to take care of each other. Last thing they're going to do is hire some fucking guy that runs his mouth on social media. I was well aware of that. I just didn't care. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, I don't need a job in hockey anyways. Now, would I have appreciated a few of these guys, big name Hall of Fame guys, chiming in a little bit while it was going on? I would have appreciated that because, their names, people are going to pay attention to what, I sat there on Twitter, and for about 7 or 8 years or whatever he was in the coach in Toronto, I am just getting roasted, which is fine. I don't give a shit. It's Twitter. But it's like, oh, you're a plug, you're a pylon, your career sucked, blah, 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 like all that shit, which is fine. I didn't care, but it would have been nice to have a little bit of backup. I will say that. But I will say, I mean, at the end of the day, I think he got exactly what he deserved. I figured he was, I mean, at the end of the day, he treats people like shit. Like what came out online and that, and this is just from me being around a little bit, is like the tip of the iceberg. Like, if he didn't want something from you, he would treat you like an absolute piece of shit. Like the ushers and front office people, like other than the GM, obviously, like he's just a bad dude. And obviously he hides it when the cameras are rolling in Toronto. Like that's the thing that killed me, is because I knew like that guy he never missed an interview, that dude. He loved the sound of his own voice, and he thought everybody was showing up in Toronto and Detroit to watch him coach, not to watch Matthews play and Pavel Datsyuk. I mean, his arrogance is off the charts. And obviously but he's smart too. Like he's not dumb as much. I mean, he's done some fucking dumb things, but like Mike Babcock's got a degree in psychology from McGill. So like he's not dumb. And if he wants to fuck with you like mentally, he's pretty good at it. And so I will say, like, I figured he was going to get a second chance. But, and when Columbus gave him that second chance, I was like, fuck, I got to do this again. And I will say, I was pissed when they hired him, but I got it. I understood. Somebody's going to fall in love with his resume. In my wildest dreams, I mean, has there ever been a head coach in any league that has gotten hired and not made it to training camp? I mean, unless the guy died in the summer. I mean, I don't think
so.
there's who doesn't make it to training camp.
It's got to be a record.
It's got to be. I mean, unless somebody either dies or gets thrown in jail or something, like you at least get to training camp and probably coach a game. So in my wildest dreams, I didn't think it would turn out that way, which ended up selfishly, it was better than if he wouldn't have got hired. It's crazy to me. Like I heard a little bit about the cell phone stuff, like at the beginning of August, and I was sitting there. I had tweets like loaded up, ready to rock. And I had like 3 or 4 of them. And I was sitting there and I was about to send them. And actually my girlfriend was like, hey, do you think that's and she just knows a little bit. She follows hockey, but she's from down here. She goes, do you think that's a good idea? And I was sat there and I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I think you're right. Because at the end of the day, most people look at me as just some unhinged fucking lunatic that just hates Mike Babcock. So if I come firing out with it, it's like, oh, great. Here we go again. Mike Commodore won't shut his fucking mouth. And I'm like, you know what? I think you're right. I think in this case, for me, less is more. If this guy's screwing around and doing the stuff that I'm hearing about, he's probably going to keep doing it. So I'm just going to wait. I'm sure it'll happen during the year. Maybe something will come out. So needless to say, a month later, when Biz fired out on, those guys have a big platform. When Biz fired out and then got pushed back and he doubled down and then he tripled down, needless to say, I was more than happy to pile on. That's for sure. But it's just crazy to me. Like that guy, I actually lost $500 because the guy does know hockey. I'll give him that. I put $500 on the Blue Jackets that year on a future to like take the over on their points. I'm like, yeah, I mean, they're gonna get more than 72 points, I think was the over under. I'm like, he's gonna make him a little better on the ice. So he fucked me out of that too, because he got canned before the season starts. So he owes me money too, Babs. He only 500 Canadian. But it's just crazy to me because at the end of the day, just because if he would have just shown up in Columbus and just don't be an idiot and just coach, like just do the hockey thing, he probably sticks around for a little bit. He's not an old guy. He probably finishes like number 2 or 3 in all-time wins as a head coach. And he's probably a no-brainer Hall of Famer, where now he just fucked himself out of all of that. Like nobody's going to hire him again now. And who's going to, like, you have to get nominated to get put in the Hall of Fame. Who's nominating him and voting for him? Like, that ain't happening. So at the end of the day, I think he got exactly what he deserved.
Yeah, best case scenario for you too, with Biz. You're like, I was right. I told you. I told everybody.
I know. I don't want to make it about me, but I will say,
no.
When he got canned in Toronto, and I started reading some tweet, and the stuff card started coming out with the Marner and stuff like that. I will say, just purely on a selfish level, opening up my mentions on Twitter, and for a little while, seeing some people be like, hey, you know what, Mike, I'm sorry. You were right. Reading that for a little bit, I will say did make me feel pretty good. And then when he totally screwed himself there in Columbus, I will say it was on a purely selfish level. It did feel pretty good. It was validating, let's say. And for the life of me, though, I will say, like, I just, that's why I try not to like talk about it. I know I ramble on and shit, but
no, you're good.
It's over. Like, I
Yep.
will say that fucking 7 or 8 years of that tweeting about Babs, it got fucking exhausting. I will say that. Mentally, it was a grind.
Well, we can close the chapter on it now. Sorry to put you on the spot, but thank
That's
you
okay.
for addressing it. We'll close the chapter on that for you and Babs. It's done.
Perfect. It's
Throw
done.
it away.
No more.
Don't have to talk about it anymore.
Yes, good.
And thank
good.
you so much again for coming on the show. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, all good. Sorry it took so long and to find a time, but thanks a lot for having me.
No, it's perfect timing with the NCAA stuff happening. So this couldn't have been a better time. So we appreciate you coming on. Chucky, do you have anything else that you want to touch on real quick?
No, thanks a lot, Kami.
Perfect. Yeah, all good.
Yeah,
thanks a
you,
lot.
I'm sure we'll see you out on the golf course somewhere.
Yeah, 100%. Hopefully next summer. I don't think I'm doing another summer down here. I'll fucking melt. So good luck the rest of the year.
Thank you.
And we'll catch up when I'm in Calgary, Kyle. I got to be there.
Sounds
Are you there
good.
full time?
Yeah, I'm kind of. I want to move to Nashville full time.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll hopefully. I mean, I'll be here most likely.
Okay.
But, yeah,
I'll reach out.
Well,
we'll catch
for
up
sure.
somewhere. I get to Nashville every once in a while too. So
awesome. Yeah, if you're ever out there, let me know. I'm supposed to be going out there soon to shoot a new show. So we'll see.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, boys.
Cool. All right. Thank you again.
All right.
man.
Take it easy. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you.
All right. See you.